100 games is an absolutely superb effort, and this was the scene that greeted Big Super as he ran out onto the ground.
Flanked by his two sons, Matthew and Justin Carey. And this is a magnificent moment in South Australian football. Peter Carey about to play his 400th club game for the Glenelg Football Club. And the banner says it all. And the crowd in excess of 10,000 people show their appreciation. And look at that banner. Tribute to the only champion captain of captains, Super Carey. 400 club games. A truly superb moment in sport as he breaks through that banner with some difficulty. Young Justin and Matthew, they're forcing their way through the banner as well. Here comes the rest of the team. Scott Salisbury helps Matthew through the banner. Emotional scenes at the Bay. An incredible occasion. Picked up.
Goosebump stuff that was, and the Tigers didn't let Carey down. They led by 15 points at three-quarter time, 14, or rather quarter time, 14 at half-time, and we pick it up 19 minutes into the third.
Right up the centre of the ground. Kicks in long. Back there is Harper. So too was Budarick. Oh, he sat underneath that one. Courageous effort by Craig Budarick. I hadn't seen much of this chap, but by gee, he's impressed us today. He can mark. He's a beautiful kick. He's also kicked 3 goals to date. Made that 4. Very relaxed kicking style. The Tigers now move on to 11 goals, 9, 75 points. Just opening up a little bit of breathing space against the Eagles, who are on 9-8.
Those last 2 goals from Craig Woodlands and Craig Budarick have been the steadier for the Bays. Budarick has been sensational with 4 goals. Craig Woodlands also has 4. They're the 2 men up forward that have done the damage.
Carey and Lindsay, it doesn't look like either player is going to have a rest off the ball. The ball comes down towards Maynard. He hooks that one back in the direction of Enright. He couldn't control it. Kicks the ball in front of him. Paddled it towards Christensen. Back to Enright. Scooped it forward to Weston. Now it's finally been well taken by Woodlands as he passed it out towards McDermott. And in turn has given that ball to Budarick again. Well, the Torrens players were content to just push the ball and paddle it forward. Craig Woodlands took the ball by the horns and fed out a superb handball. And there's another goal. That's 5 goals to Craig Budarick. And he certainly is the key to this game at the moment. He kicked the first 2 goals for Glenelg in the opening quarter. And now he's kicked 3 in this third term. Glenelg 12-9, Torrens 9-8.
Yes, the damaging player was McDermott coming through centre field. Take 2 action replay. McDermott to Budarick goal, McDermott to Budarick goal. You almost feel like you've got a stammer, but that's the way the play's gone.
Lindsay with the tap down to Christensen. He's well tackled. Weston in there. Stalemate. And it'll be Michael Abbott again. In fact, it's Laurie Argent to bounce.
Kim Budarick has 3 goals this term. Craig Woodlands 2. They're the Bay's only goal scorers in this quarter. And what can Paul Weston do?
Well, obviously the defence has to tighten up. Weston's playing a fine hand himself. He's got to marshal the other backman as we see Budarick again. He couldn't control that one. Enright back there. Players jump on top of it. Schwartz is back onto the ground.
Picking up Budarick.
So it appears that Baker's been taken off. Yes, we cannot see Baker out in the field. So Baker's been taken off and young Alan Schwartz has been given the job of picking up the danger man in Craig Budarick. Weston opposed to Cruz. Cruz won that tap down in the direction of Enright. Enright now got a wobbly kick away. It found Eichner. Barely 10 metres that kick. Now, I was just about to say the Eagles have to steady. They've got out of that, but they were lucky. Weston's handball went to Eichner. Eichner drives long out towards Chris Lindsay. Out there is Hodgson. He had a fumble. Ball very close to the boundary line. Eventually it's gone over as Hodgson and Winton lie side by side.
The Bay's enjoying a 19-point lead. Peter Carey and Ruck versus Chris Lindsay. They've been at it all day. There've been no changes. Hodgson playing in the forward lines. Scott Salisbury playing half back. Winton holding the ball. Good tackle, David Foote. Certainly is a talented player. He's just back into the Eagles lineup after a couple of games in the reserves, recovering after injury, gaining some fitness. Donovan dumped the ball away from Grenville Dietrich out of play. We've had just on 23.5 minutes of the third quarter. Carey and Lindsay go at it again. Schwartz down from his back pocket forward. Dietrich picks up the ball. He had a snap at goal, smothered off the boot by Donovan. Picking the ball up from the handball off Murphy was Maynard. Maynard grandstand side, long looking for Marshall. In the back from Guy, no free kick. Pisani pushed across the ball, out of play. Good defensive work by both sides on that occasion. Dyer and Pisani doing the work for West Torrens to force the ball out of play.
I'm trying to work out these moves, David. It appears that Eichner's gone on to Budarick. Harper's gone on to Woodlands. Pisani's got the job of looking after little chick Widden as Guy drives long towards Appleton, and it's a fine mark by Murphy. Murphy goes short. He finds McTavish. McTavish will use Kernahan. David Kernahan waiting for the ball to bounce up. Now he's got possession, drives long. Eichner's looking where Budarick is. Robson bravely back into the pack. And Budarick certainly causing some headaches. Young Dale Eichner there who's looking around to see which way Budarick was going to fly from. The tap from Seabohm. He's been quiet. Out towards Guy. Tapped it forward to Enright. Now the Eagles have to keep possession. It looks for Lindsay and the big fella takes a fine mark. That's his 6th or 7th mark for the game. The next kick's the important one. They're breaking down up in their forward zone. Kick is positioned for Hodgson. He had 2 players to contend with and it was well spoiled by Winton. Now it's 2-on-2. Christensen, Salisbury, the boundary wins out. In fact it didn't. Foot looking for a free kick, taps it back towards Taylor. He's been held without possession and he's won himself a free kick. Well, Kevin Taylor thought about playing on. I think he's off, isn't he? He's off now. Umpire calls play on. Everyone was standing still. And another misdirected kick as it goes straight to Murphy, and that's their downfall. There's no doubt about it, David.
Yes, the forward set up for the Eagles today has lacked a little bit strength. The defence of the Bays has been strong, led by Murphy. Now Maynard, the left foot to Seabohm. Robson from behind, a screamer. Well, I didn't expect him to take the mark. He came from nowhere and got it. Certainly an unpredictable player. Robson through centre, Morfitt there. Front was appeared to be Maynard. Now finally Cruz out to Hodgman. Turn Marshall. Showing a ton of pace, Marshall. Into the goal square he goes. Gibbs is up. He missed the mark. Robson. Now Ross Gibbs has drifted down to the forward line. We saw him kick 4 goals in the last term last week. Botia's the man marking him, but Kernahan has that mark. So Ross Gibbs lurking in the forward line. Now calling for the ball. Here's a danger man. Kernahan comes across field. Weston took front position. Cruz couldn't quite pick the ball up. Tunnel balls it through. Maynard around his body. Harper's first there for West Torrens and has the mark. Harper plays on to Eichner, providing run. To the outer side they go. Chris Lindsay galloping towards the outer. Feeds off the handball to Foot, who's coming into the game. Short to Hodgson, who's done a good job through the half-forward lines. Winton has the job of curtailing Hodgson. Left foot forward. Morfitt, Courage, left foot, lines him up, misses. In fact, he's got a free kick. He was hit after he kicked it. So now Morfitt an opportunity of having another shot at goal. He's already kicked 1 point as he pulls out his mouth guard just to take a breather. 25 metres out, directly in front. Scott Morfitt, recruited to West Torrens from Geelong this year. He's played mainly in the centre, but today he's played at half forward. Peter Carey stands the mark as Morfitt gains composure, deliberately lines up the goals. Very important kick for the Eagles They trail by 19 points. They got back to within 3 points at one stage of the quarter. That one's right through the middle, so they're now back to be within 13 points of the Bays. 12-9-81 Glenelg, 10 goals, 8, 68 the Eagles.
Well, both sides have kicked 5 goals this quarter. In the second term, both sides could manage only 2 goals. It's the first quarter that the Glenelg side managed to gain their lead. They kicked 5 goals to the Eagles 3. So it's 81 points, play 68. There's not much in this game, and it's been a great third term of football.
Hasn't it, what, with played 3 minutes into time on, 13 points the lead to Glenelg. It's been Budarick and Woodlands that have done the damage. Kevin Taylor has 2 this term for the Eagles. David Foote has 2. And now Scott Morford chipping in with a goal. There's a free kick picked out in the centre. For the third time today, it's going the way of the Bays. Peter Carey off screen, you couldn't quite see, stole the ball and played on. He was at centre-half forward before anyone realised, but the umpire has called him back.
Well, I'd like to try and pick up, David, who the player is that's infringing. As you mentioned, it's the third occasion that a Torrens player has gone into the centre square before the ball has been bounced. It's been the same young boundary umpire each time, so there's obviously one player who keeps making the same mistake.
Carey, a long torpedo punt into the forward line. Up was Seabone, but in front of him was Chris Lindsay. Taken another mark. Lindsay plays on. The handball is interrupted by Seabone. Harper under pressure to Eichner. Quick kick away forward. Schwartz is there for the Eagles. He paddles it forward. Cleverly in Hodgman with desperation. Schwartz, the handball out. Weston using good body work, taps it forward for Bruce Lindsay. Through half forward they go. Cunningham's there. Murphy behind. Now Salisbury under pressure from Taylor. Out of bounds on the full. Could it be? No, it just bounces inside the line. I thought for one split second that Salisbury's kick might have been wide, but fortunately for the Bays it landed just inside the line.
Well, John Cunningham's come back onto the ground. It appears that Appleton may have come off, so obviously the Eagles are looking for some marking power up forward. Lindsay with a chance. Long handball over to Chris Lindsay. Too high for the big fella, if that's possible. He hooks around his body. Dietrich front position, couldn't take it. And the ball rolls over the line for another minor score. So the Eagles move on to 10-9-69. Trailing Glenelg 12-9-81, and we've had 30 minutes of this third quarter.
We've been watching Chris Lindsay playing only his 25th league game, battle it out against Super Carey, playing his 400th club game, and if you add, of course, 17 state games to Super's tally, he's got 417. Kernahan got it off to Cruz. Turn went wide. Finally, it's ended up with Maynard. Maynard short on the lead. Seabone, he's up and he's got that one, Seabone. Robson's done a good job of marking him all day. He only has 1 goal, which was kicked early in the second term. Seabone lining up goal number 2, natural left footer. Goal umpire's just coming around a little bit, but I think that's right through the middle. 13 goals, 9, 87 the Bays. Lead West Torrens, 10 goals, 9, 69.
Well, that was a strong mark to Seabone. He's been a little bit down on form. He had a quiet one last week against the Bulldogs. It's his second goal to date. He's got a good pair of hands. He made his name as a backman. Exceptionally good centre-half back. He's a long kick of the ball, and that mark and goal will do him his confidence no end of good.
He's sitting 4th on the goal-kicking ladder for the league, Seabone. In fact, 5th. 25 goals, 9 before today, so he now has 27 goals for the day. Siren sounds in the third quarter here. The Glenelg Oval, the mark has been paid to Seabone.
Oh, siren it sounded.
Well, the Glenelg supporters aren't too unhappy about that. I think the West Torrens supporters will be plenty unhappy about it. Neither.
Well, in fact, David, Paul Weston has moved in with Michael Abbott to remonstrate. But there's no one back on the goal line there for the Eagles, so it could bounce through. Chris Lindsay's just realised, Dale Eichner's realised, they're sprinting down the ground. Seabone would want to kick now, there's no one there.
Well, I think he hurried to kick him. He certainly did. He pulled it to the right. He knew that there was nobody home for the Eagles, but in his hurry, he's pulled it just to the right and scored only a behind. So the three-quarter time score here at Glenelg. The Bays, 13 goals, 10. Lead West Torrens, 10 goals, 9. In what has been a top game.
Final quarter about to start at the Bay Oval. The Tigers led by 15 points at the first quarter, 14 points at half-time, and now lead by 19 points. So we see Paul Weston has made some moves. David Foote starting in the middle of the ground. And that mark's been taken by Enright. He feeds out to Harper. Harper drives long looking for Hodgson. He spoils with a big fist away. Salisbury leads in the chase before Taylor. Bodier in there. Taylor still looking for holding the ball. Decision, he's finally won it. Oh, Salisbury not happy. He's given Laurie Argent a big raspberry. And now we see Taylor kicks into the man on the mark. That's a bad mistake. Hodgman, he nearly did that well. Held back on that ball. Taken by Kernahan. Drives long. Enright one-on-one. He wins the spoil. Weston in there. Out the back door. Oh, miraculous effort to bring that back around his body, but the mark's been taken by Kenny Hodgman.
Paul Weston's played a great game today at centre half-back. Probably his best game for the Eagles. Joining them from Essendon last season. Cruz forward. Robson from behind, spectacular, but he's given away a free kick. There's been a push in the back. In fact, it was Seabohm who gave away the free kick. It's going the way of coach Paul Weston. Weston with a long torpedo punt to centre half forward. Salisbury from behind couldn't mark it. Now he gathers in the ball. He got off a quick handball. Bruce Lindsay tried to burst his way through. Botia around his body. Good eyes, good vision. And Baker has the mark at centre half forward for the Eagles. Keith Baker started the game in a back pocket. Budarick gave him a hiding. Now short to Hodgson. Ross Gibbs needed to be a little bit careful on that occasion. Hodgson had the ground and Ross Gibbs jumped into him as he took the mark. Hodgson being told to come around on the mark. He's only 15 metres out. 13-10 Glenelg, 10 goals, 9 West Torrens. They trail by 19 points. As Greg Hodgson, if he can goal this, can bring the deficit back to 13 points. He already has one goal. He lines them up deliberately right through the middle. The Eagles are back within 13 points of the Bays, and this could be a great last quarter.
Oh, it certainly could be, David. That was magnificent play by young Fodia. That had class written all over it, that kick, when he centred the ball back. Then Hodgson ran down the ground. He was left unchecked. He managed to get away by, if we can pick up who's standing in. It still appears to be Winton. Yes, he's shaking his head. He's not happy. He let Hodgson sneak away from him. And the big chap who's had such a fine game made no mistake to post his second goal.
Hodgson's given the Eagle half-forward line some bites since coming onto the Oval late in the first term. Chris Lindsay with a tap. Maynard tried to get a kick away, spoiled by Bruce Lindsay. Baker over the top of the ball for West Torrens, the number 11 player. Laurie Argent forced to ball it up. Umpires today, Laurie Argent and Michael Abbott. Done a pretty good job, regardless of what Scotty Salisbury has to say. Argent puts the ball to ground. Chris Lindsay from behind, the thump forward. Maynard leads in the race for that ball. Now has players leading down forward. He ignores Woodlands, goes over his head. Seabohm, Robson thumps it away, out of play. Good work for Lee Robson. He's done a fine job today on John Seabohm. He's been one of the Eagles' better defenders.
It would appear in the moves that the Eagles have made that Keith Baker, who's playing on a forward flank, or centre half forward, in fact, he's opposed to Michael Murphy, as Weston got that one to Harper. Harper gets a clearing kick down towards Baker. He received a push in the back, play on the call. Maynard in there, pressured by Lindsay, well tackled. McTavish, Kernahan, Lindsay off the turf. This allows Baker. Baker on to Taylor. He's got a sixth sense, Taylor. He just knows when people are about to swoop on him. He slipped over when he kicked it. Now it's Winton opposed to Hodgson, picked up by Fodia. Handball over towards Baker. The backman has a shot for goal. He's baked it through the middle. Well, there's only 7 points the difference here at the Bay Oval, and this game has come alive as Baker kicks his first. And the Eagles move on to 12 goals, 9. Glenelg 13-10, and it's been great football.
We've only played 5 minutes into the final quarter, and Keith Baker, who had a horror start to the game on Craig Budarick. Budarick kicked 2 early goals. He missed an easy third and could have done some great damage. Now has brought the Eagles back to within 7 points, and the Eagles are back in this game with a chance.
Hodgson playing on a half-forward flank. Baker roaming around at centre half-forward. Foots into the middle. He's opposed to McDermott. He's ruck roving. McTavish roving against Christensen. Lindsay playing in the middle. The Eagles have made moves. Chris Lindsay with a big tap down to Bruce Lindsay. The Eagles go into attack again. Back there, Grenbold. He's tackled by Morford. Salisbury has the ball out to Christensen over the table. It should be another one.
last 6 minutes of this final quarter to bring themselves within 1 point of the Bay. And it's been Bruce Lindsay in the centre who's been getting the ball out this crucial quarter. David Foote's gone to the centre, and I think Chris Lindsay, with just slightly fresher, younger legs than Peter Carey, is still jumping high off the ground.
Well, the Bay supporters are starting to rally. They want Big Super to lift in his 400. This Lindsay gets another jab. Down the Maynard, that's holding the ball if ever I've seen one. Gee, he had his arm.
Well, he had him pulled backwards and an arm pinned. He certainly had no opportunity of getting rid of that Maynard, and I think that's why Laurie Argent has called for a ball up.
Fair enough. Lindsay again. Big punch forward. Down to Hodgson. Taylor at the back of the pack. So too Maynard. Winton in there. Desperate work by Peter Maynard. He's a fine player, Peter Maynard. He's been a great recruit. In actual fact, it was West Torrens that brought Maynard over here from Melbourne. The Glenelg side saw the opportunity to grab him, and it was good work by their administrators because he's been a magnificent player for the club.
Maynard with the kick forward. Weston's underneath that one. He's been superb at centre half back. Geyer shoots off a long handball to Pisani, who got a big great bounce. Allows McDermott in. He can only get away a quick handball. Cruz, tunnel ball. Marshall stole it. Bounce. He'll go through half forward and line up the goals. That's the way he goes. Seabohm dropping back on it, and Seabohm has the mark. So the Bays will have a steadier if Seabohm can get this one. He already has 2 goals, 2 today. The 7-minute mark of the final term, with Glenelg leading by only a point. John Seabohm has an opportunity of giving them just a little bit of breathing space. That's exactly what he's done. Goal number 3, Seabohm. Good work to the Bays, and it was Marshall stealing that ball through half forward who created the space.
Well, there we saw, David, the advantage of playing the ball on quickly. Marshall's a thinker, there's no doubt about that. He's one of the class players in South Australian football. He kicked the ball in long. Robson was caught too far away from Seabohm, and John Seabohm does not miss goals from 5 metres out.
4 goals in 7 minutes is pretty tidy football. That's the Bays first for the quarter. They now have only a 7-point advantage. This game has certainly turned out to be one of the enthralling battles of the year. It's had everything from the opening bounce. Peter Carey's 400th club game. He ran through a magnificent banner. Tribute to the only champion, captain of captains, Super Carey, 400 club games. It was a magnificent tribute to the champion. As Maynard goes forward, intercepted for the Torrens side by Eichner. He started the game on a wing, now at half-back is Marshall. Chips in and marks. It has been quiet, Marshall, but now coming into the game. Forward. Woodlands dropped the mark. Harper picks up the crumbs. The kick is high, but not well thought, unfortunately. Baker came through and did the punch away. McTavicks, the crumbs, short. Robson out again. He's been strong from full back. Enright will need to get a quick kick forward. Underneath that one, Taylor, he dropped it. Winton fell over. Shot off the handball to Murphy. Murphy's been strong in defence. Cruz, under pressure from Enright, stood his ground courageously and has a good mark. He looks to play on. That's exactly what he's done. In the forward pocket was Woodlands, under pressure from Harper. He plays on. Can he put it through? He can't. It's offline, however. And through for one behind. And had Woodlands been able to score that, he would have got 5 for the day. Been a damaging forward.
Certainly is a good player, Craig Woodlands. Served his apprenticeship in the Glenelg Juniors. Always shown a lot of promise. A damaging player around the goals. There's 8 points in this game, and it's an absolute beauty. Full punch forward by Schwartz, and again by Lindsay, but it's all in fact, I think Taylor might get there first. Does so. Handball over to Pisani. He's in trouble. Had to get past 2 players. Now the ball comes back towards McTavish. In turn, Cruz gets around. He lost his footing. Oh, well done, the big chap. In fact, that's great play. Over to Carey. Carey in turn to Maynard. He shrugged off the tackle. Got past Eichner. Past Weston. Shot underways at the post. Oh, look at Peter Maynard. He can't believe it. This game's an absolute ripper.
Well, it certainly developed that way. It was the perseverance of Cruz who got the ball forward. Carey, with calm head, got it over to Maynard. He fought his way around 3 Torrens defenders, and a goal there would have been fitting. Hit the post, unfortunately, for the Bays. Now the Eagles. Chris Lindsay, another strong mark. He's done a good job against Carey today.
In fact, David, that's his 9th or 10 mark, so the young fella, he's played a pretty good game. The ball comes in long. Hodgson with the spoil. Down towards Salisbury. The boundary very close. Salisbury with a slick handle back to Kernahan. He's tackled by Morfitt. The ball goes over the line, right in front of our commentator. position. And really, even though there's been a lot of hype and a lot of talk about this game because of Peter Carey, the football in the first half was pretty ordinary. But by cheers, this game livened up.
Yes, it has. It was Budarick who got the left foot forward. Salisbury out, dives and takes a good mark. He's played all day in defence, Salisbury. He had it rough early. Certainly now making his mark felt. Place to Hodgman in front of Enright. Hodgman has Seabohm on the lead. That's the way he goes. Harper from behind did the spawning work. In fact, it's Jim West now onto the field. Fresh legs. West has spent all day on the boundary. Now onto the field. He plays on quickly, goes towards the goal square. Underneath that, unattended, Craig Budarick mark. Now Budarick has kicked 5 goals, 2 in the first and 3 goals in the third. He missed one from point-blank range late in the first term, so he could easily have 6. He has 6 on the board now, so it could easily have been 7. 6 goals to Craig Budarick. Great performance.
It certainly is. It's now 15 points the difference. That's a more than handy goal to the Glenelg side. Every time they've been threatened by the Eagles, they've managed to bounce back with something. James West got the ball in quickly. The Torrens players were caught flat-footed. They seemed to misread the situation. Craig Budarick took an uncontested mark while Lee Robson and Dale Eichner floundered back into position.
Fans getting their money's worth here at Glenelg Oval. Good crowd of about 10 or 12,000 people. Originally came to pay homage to Peter Carey, but now enjoying what has turned into a very good game. Chris Lindsay, Carey it was who got the tap and the kick forward. Stolen by Pisani. Now Pisani plays on quickly wide to Baker, over his head. Morford and Murphy. The 2 number 6s doing battle. The ball's gone across the line and out of play, and the throw-in will take place. We're just on 12 minutes into the final term. Bays had a 19-point lead at 3/4 time. It was whittled down to only 1 point. They now enjoy a 15-point lead. Hodgman quickly onto the boot. Cruz overran the ball. Pisani there desperately forces the ball across the line. He had no other option.
12 minutes gone of the final quarter. Certainly a great opening final quarter for the Eagles. They kicked a goal at the 2nd minute mark, the 4th and 5th. But then it was the Bays who replied. They steadied like the great side they are. They kicked another goal by Seabohm and Budarick. Now it's McDermott. His kick bounces over the top of several players. And eventually the ball goes out of bounds.
This is an important game for both sides. Glenelg lost last week to Central by 22 points and Woodville the week before by 24 points. And of course, Torrens have had 2 losses against North and Sturt. Both sides very keen for a victory. Carey thumps it down. The kick went forward for West Torrens. Hodgson almost took a good mark. McTavish is there desperately and the ball has gone out of play. And Kim, with Glenelg looking at North next week, that certainly could be a danger game. They need to win today, and of course Torrens have Port and Norwood their next 2 games.
Well, exactly, David. If the Eagles are to become anything this year, they have to win these hard games, and this one certainly is a hard game. The handball back towards the boundary line. McTavish there. McDermott, gee, gets around and plays with ease. He's a class player, Chris McDermott. His kick in towards Seabohm, starting to look dangerous. Now the ball picked up by Pisani. Out towards Woodlands, it appears to be. Enright in there. Players desperate to keep the ball in the area. It'll be Laurie Argent to bounce. On the right forward flank for the Tigers.
Well, there won't be one spectator going home before this one's concluded. As Geyer picks up the ball high through the centre wing area. Kernahan had the ball spoiled by his own teammate in Winton. Now Schwartz inside the line, back to Chris Lindsay. The pencil, kick smothered off the boot. Salisbury and Taylor do battle, neither can win it. Now an opportunity for Morford with a run at the ball. Murphy spoiled well, Grenvold held but not possession. He's got a free kick. He did that well, Grenvold. He earned it. Baker throws the ball back. Grenvold now elects to play on to McTavish, who has a bounce. Now 2. Has the luxury of a 3rd. Very little pressure from the Torrens forwards. McTavish forward. Underneath that one, McDermott. He nearly took a good one-handed mark. And now a ball up. They have good skills, the Glenelg players. McDermott could easily have taken that. We saw Ross Gibbs take a blinder one-hander. Midway through, I think it was the 2nd quarter. Ball up. Jim West. Harper for West Torrens did the ruck work. Now foot off to Lindsay. Plenty of pressure. Round the neck. Play on, call down by West. An opportunity. now a ball up.
Well, David, if the Eagles were to gain possession and go forward, the Bays have the numbers in defence. McTavish is loose, so they have the spare man. It gives them a runner. Now it's Budarick went up high. It's taken by Eichner. The kick smothered off the boot. Foot back there. Oh, he's lost possession. Maynard in there. Stole the ball. McDermott. Gee, the Bays are desperate to move the ball forward. In there is Cruz. Eventually the ball goes over the line. The Bays made themselves another 15 metres then.
Yes, Kim, and you called it well too. The Bays have dropped a man into defence. They now have a very handy 15-point lead. They're not going to throw that away. Popped the man down in defence to make sure the Eagles don't get a run on. Good coaching. Bruce Lindsay has tackled strongly. Over the top was McDermott. He's battled hard all day. Battle royal, though, is between Paul Weston at centre-half back and Cruz. Weston's had the better of that battle. Now Seabone, the tap down. Eichner forward for the Eagles. Baker there, took a fly, couldn't mark it. Hodgson been strong on the half-forward line. Chris Lindsay waits for the ball to bounce around the neck for Carey. The umpire's seen it that way. Mike Abbott, you'll need to play on quickly. Grenville's one-on-one with Donovan in the goal square. Wasting too much time, however, the Eagles. Bays backmen have got back on that one. Murphy, Grenville tried to kick the ball off the ground. He's been penalised for doing so, kicking in danger.
Well, David, it's easy to be critical, but that's poor football. Now, Dietrich is one-on-one with Donovan. He allowed Lindsay took that long. Murphy got back there, and they're going to pay the penalty. The mark's being paid to Hodgman. Keith Baker's prepared to have a go. He came down with a pretty rough and tough reputation from Darwin, and I'd say he's pretty keen to get involved in something here.
Well, they haven't got time for fights, the Eagles. They need to play football if they want to win. 15 points to margin. Kim Hodgman shows the crowd and the West Torrens players the ball. He's won himself a 15-metre penalty and now steadies for the Bays. Kick is long. Grandstand side. Weston took front position, couldn't mark it. Eichner's kick was smothered. Gives McTavish an opportunity to keep the ball inside the line. He's done so. Forward looking for Budarick. He snares the ball but can't control it. Eichner pushes Budarick across the line. It's out of play deep in the left half forward flank for the Bays.
Well, David, McTavish is the player we're talking about. He's the loose man in defence. In fact, Kernahan's formed a line, so too is Maynard. So they're building a wall across this centre line to try and keep the ball forward for their side as the free kick's been picked out and it'll go the way of Weston. And let's see what the Eagles can do to penetrate this line of defence, this wall that the Tiger side has formed. Weston opts for the centre of the ground, looking for Chris Lindsay. Thumped away from him. Schwarz with the ball, fed it out towards Harper. He's lost his footing. Guy took it out to Christensen. They managed to run around this wall, and it comes out towards Morford. The two Sixers in battle once again. Morford keeps the ball in play. He's tackled. Christensen finally gets there to lend support. Murphy wins out with a clearing kick in the direction of Maynard. Maynard, quick feed, back towards McTavish. He kicks across the ground looking for Winton, picks it up on the first grab. The Bays have a chance here. Winton's got all the time in the world. Has time to steady, drives in long, the kick looks good. In fact, it's a beauty. The Tigers get a steadying goal, and it's a more than handy goal. They move on to 16-12, 108. The Eagles now starting to struggle on 13-9, 87.
That's Jeff Winton's first goal, and that's been the steadier for the Bays. The man playing across the defensive line was McTavish. He tipped the ball out to Winton, and Hodgson didn't bother to chase Winton. It was left to the running players of the Eagles to try and cut him off. They couldn't do so. He burst his way through half forward and shot a great goal.
Great running football, the ball. Lindsay tapped it back towards his captain, Bruce Lindsay. His handball went to Christensen. He fumbled, had another fumble. Oh, they paid dearly for that. It was a good handball. Damien Christensen will not be pleased with himself. Fumbled an easy take.
21 points now, the margin. The Eagles may have blown it. That goal could just be the sealer. As forward go the Bays again. Hodgman overran the ball. Jumping on top of it was Enright, and Geyer comes in to lend support. Umpire Mick Abbott will have another bounce.
Well, David, obviously after the rain, the turf is fairly loose, and I'd say most of those players are wearing moulded sole boots, and that's why they're all slipping over.
Correct. Carey with the tap down to ground. Maynard, the quick kick forward. Woodlands leads in the race to the ball. Maynard's followed up. Now gathers the ball in. Tackled strongly by Pisani. Holding the ball. Must be. The Eagles are keen to play on. That's exactly what Pisani's done. Through half forward he goes, looking for Morfitt. It's well wide of him, however, and out of play. The two number 6s have run each other across the line. 108 plays 87. We've played just on 20 minutes of the final quarter. It's developed into a great game of football. The Eagles have had their opportunities.
The Tigers with a 21-point lead as Carey gets a short kick away. Back there is Guy. It's taken by Christensen, trying to weave his way through the pack. Marshall back there. Now it comes on to McDermott. He gets a clearing kick out towards Maynard. Has a fumble. Time to recover. Lindsay applies the pressure. Maynard centres the ball back there. Budarick couldn't take it. Robson's there. Clearing kick around his body. Now Enright's all by himself. Chips the ball out wide and finds Foot. Now Foot's got Christensen loose. Chips short towards that player. Let's see if the Eagles can set something up. Christensen decides to drive long looking for Dietrich. He couldn't take the ball. Back there is Morfitt. So too is Murphy, and he's tripped. Oh, he might be careful. He might lose that one. In fact, he's won himself 15 metres.
Murphy, the spiralling torpedo. It was a wobbly one off the boot. Carey tried to thump it forward. Dermott tackled Foot. We're not in possession. Play on called the umpire. Enright paddles it out to Geyer. He got a quick kick away. Goodness knows how. Carey, the cheers of the Bay fans. Forward. Eichner up. He missed that mark. Now Budarick. Tackled high. Holding the ball. He ducked his head, said umpire Mick Abbott. You saw it. That's the way it was called. Lee Robson with the free kick. Forward. West Torrens still have time to get up in this one if they're good enough. Now Hodgman. Into the attacking zone he goes with a handball to Cruz. Weston's done a good job on Cruz today, but Cruz has got free in the last 5 or 10 minutes. High West, the mark. Ross Gibbs tried to claim it, but I think it was West's mark. Jim West has only been on the ground about 15 minutes. 25 metres out, directly in front. Fresh legs, clear mind. Straight kick, right through the middle. That's his first. The Bays certainly have this game sewn up. 17 goals, 12, 114. Lead West Torrens, 13-9, 87.
Well, the big man power of this Glenelg side was lacking last week. But certainly hasn't been today. There's been some fine aerial work late in this game by Seabone. And that was a good mark by West. The height advantage over his opponent in Harper. He marked from about 15 metres out and banked through a goal that could just about seal the fate for this Eagles side.
The Bays have steadied. West Torrens were only 1 point down at about the 7-minute mark, but the Bays certainly have this game sewn up. Hodgson, he hasn't played badly at half forward, Hodgson. Grenville back to McDermott. Again, McDermott's been a star. Through half forward he goes. Good mark, Woodlands. Used his body well, bodied Pisani out. And at the true centre half forward position, Craig Woodlands has the mark. Short he goes, drifting down into the forward line as Gibbs, as he did last week. Kick 4 in the final term, and this one is not beyond him. Plenty of confidence from Ross Gibbs. He gave it a good ride, put it up high. Robson at the front of the pack, dumped it down. Eichner stole the ball out of defence. Goes long. Nobody home for the Bays as McTavish is up and he's marked only just. Off to Kernahan, not a good handball, put him under pressure. Swartz back to Hodgson. McTavish, plenty of desperation now. Kernahan comes out with the ball, drives forward. Seabone mark. Behind play, McTavish is down. Looks like he could be hurt.
In fact, that mark won't be paid, David, because Michael Abbott had called that ball touched off the boot. So Laurie did change his decision, and that was correct.
Well, I'm glad you saw that, Kim. I certainly hadn't. So the ball goes to ground. Seabone with the tap. Hodgman short. That man again, Budarick. Has 6. His confidence would be sky high. And the 7th is not beyond him. 35 metres out, so the distance won't be a problem. He has got a very tight angle, as you can see, hugging the boundary line. It's fading across the goals, however, it's going to the far pocket. Ross Gibbs almost took the mark. Unfortunately, the ball has gone out of play and a throw-in will take place. We're just into time on. 114 plays 87. The Bays have a very handy lead.
Well, it's been a great second half of football, and full credit to the Bays. They were threatened. They led only by a point the 5-minute mark of this last quarter, but there's the man again, Budarick, Craig Budarick. has kicked 6 goals. Now has an opportunity to kick his 7th. It's only about 35 metres out. Starts it off to the left and comes back. That's his 7th. It's been a fine effort by Craig Budarick. He is more than a handy player. And I think it's safe to say, David, but he was the man that got Glenelg off to a good start. He kicked the first 2 goals for them in the first quarter, and he hasn't let up all day.
No, he hasn't, Kim. He now has 7 for the game, 2 this term. They've been sealers, 3 in the third. Certainly dynamic, and he could easily have kicked another one, which he missed from point-blank range early in the first term. And he's been the difference between the 2 sides. The Bays now enjoy a 33-point lead.
26-minute mark of this final quarter. And it's West into the ruck. Carey having a rest. Taken by Hodgman. Over to McDermott. Weaves his way through the play with a wobbly kick forward. This time it's Harper front position, and he takes a fine mark. Plays on quickly to Christensen. Lindsay's got a paddock. He's out there all by himself. Weston's running down the centre of the ground. Lindsay has a bounce to steady. Now drives in long. Taylor back there. Front position. Recovered quickly. Lost possession. In there is Morford. Desperate work by the Glenelg defence. So at the 26.5-minute mark of this final quarter, umpire Laurie Argent will bounce about 40 metres from the Torrens goal.
Chris Lindsay got the tap down for the Eagles. Potea was who stole the ball. Winton. I think he thought he was tackled by himself. Winton put himself under pressure. Off to Donovan, down from full back. Donovan's had the job of minding Dietrich all day. Mark there to Budarick. It's been start. Certainly his best game for the Bays. I was about to say that Grenville Dietrich has only 3 goals, 1. So Donovan, you'd say, has done a good job. Forward they go yet again. Now it's Maynard taking a strong overhead mark. The Bays are doing as they like late in this final term. Maynard just takes a steadier, chip short. On the lead, Ross Gibbs. Damian Christensen falls in behind him. Ross Gibbs, big smile on his face, will line up for his first goal for the day. Waste no time, Ross Gibbs. He's got consummate... I was going to say he's got consummate confidence in his ability, but a little bit too much on that occasion. He drifted that across line and threw for 1 behind.
27 minutes gone, and it's the Bays by 34 points as Harper kicks that ball in short, and it finds Bob Enright. Enright over the top towards Christensen. Christensen tried to swing that back centre field. There's no one home for the Eagles. Hodgman's there. He dropped that one. Geyer took it well. In fact, it's been adjudicated holding the ball, and, well, Argent was only a few metres away. I would have thought that was play on. But Laurie's the boss, so the free kick will go the way of Kim Hodgman. Hodgman plays out wide and finds Marshall. So the Bays just playing out time now. They're trying to keep possession. It drives in long. Up high was Gibbs trying to take a few speckies late in this game. The tap on was brilliant from Woodlands. Over to Kernahan. Here's a running shot at goal, but it's offline. And the Tigers move along to 18 goals, 14, 122. The Eagles on 13-9, 87.
35 points the margin to the Bays. Schwartz brings the ball back into play for the Eagles. Chris Lindsay mark. He's done that well today. His marking has been a feature of his game. Geyer through centre. Taylor. He's not good overhead, Taylor. Morford. Quick kick under pressure. Now Taylor. He didn't want that one. Winton certainly did. On to the left foot he goes. Wide to Cruz. Cruz certainly just coming into the game now that the Bays are steamrolling home. Maynard quickly out for Tavish. The running player was Cruz. Tackled strongly by Harper. Christensen deep in defence. Off to Weston. Tried to do it a little bit too cleverly. Enright to Weston. On to Potea. The Eagle players are still running this game out, but they certainly have no chance of winning. Baker has the mark at centre half forward. He tries to move it on quickly to Taylor. He might have brought Taylor undone. Taylor's good enough to get out of that, though. He's got a radar when players are around him. Now Morford lines up the goals. No pressure on Morford. Snaps truly right through the middle. That's Scott Morford second. 1 in the third, 1 in the final term. 14 goals, 9 the Eagles. It's not going to matter. 18 goals, 14 the Bays.
Well, the Eagles have shown that they don't lie down. They fight the games right out to the end as we see McTavish come off after having a fine last quarter and Jig Whitten comes back onto the ground. They certainly are an improved side, the Eagles, but unfortunately they just cannot win a game of football.
Yes, maybe the Eagles just lack a little bit of belief in themselves. They got to within 1 point and then they threw it away, and it was mainly due to that man, Bruce Lindsay, who got back in the game. As the siren sounds to end this historic game at the Bay Oval. Glenelg 18 goals 14, 122 at the Peter Torrens 14 goals 993 in Peter Carey's 400th club game as the crowds and the West Torrens players streamed to greet him. Congratulate that fine champion. Bruce Lindsay just shaking his hand. Now the fans and players cheer Super Carey off the ground. It's an emotional moment for him. The Bays have won. He must have been green even before the start of the game. And there the fans show their appreciation for this great man. They're cheering him off the ground. And could we possibly hope that maybe Peter Carey might just play on and possibly beat Russell Everett's Australian record of senior games? He need to play another season. Let's hope the big fellow can.
Yes, it's certainly been a magnificent effort. Full credit to Peter Carey. The Tigers deserve to win today. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that his players had so much admiration and respect for him. And that's a fitting result here today at the Bay Oval.
Yes, what a moment it was. Just imagine what it's going to be like when he reaches 500. Well, checking now the quarter-by-quarter scores, and really, given that moment, what chance did Torrens ever really have? The Tigers skipped away to a handy break in the first quarter. After that, though, the Eagles stuck well, keeping in touch throughout. Budarick kicked 7 in a great performance for the Bays. Woodlands 4 for Torrens. Taylor kicked 4 and Dietrich 3 goals. Well, today's round of football, of course, has been totally dominated by that man, Peter Carey, the 400 gamer, speaking here with Kim Dillon.
Peter, congratulations on a magnificent win and also your own personal achievement of 400 club games.
Thanks very much, Kim. It was a great effort by all the boys. We really had to fight all day and we just persevered a little bit better at the finish.
When you ran out on the ground, what emotions did you experience today, having your 2 sons with you?
Oh, it was fantastic. You know, just running through the banner, I just wish I wasn't so hard to run through. We got stuck halfway through. It was a fantastic moment, and to run in front of the grandstand of that ovation was unbelievable.
Did the massive build-up prior to the game have any effect on you whatsoever?
Yeah, I didn't think it had had a lot of effect, but geez, I was exhausted in the first quarter, and I really think all the nervous energy I've certainly expanded in the last couple of days really showed out.
At any stage of your career, did you actually set yourself for a milestone like this?
I guess about 3 years ago, when I'd just passed 300, I sort of had a look and wondered how much longer I could keep playing, and I thought I might be able to see 3 years out, and I thought if I played 3 years I could play 400, and fortunately it's happened.
You've played alongside and against some great players. Does any of those players really stand in your mind?
I'd have to say Rick Davies over many, many years was my toughest opponent. There's been hundreds probably that come to mind, but the great Victorians I've played against, the Dempseys and the Knights and the Lees and the Moores, there's been heaps.
Peter, they say behind every great man there's a greater woman. You obviously owe a lot to your family, your wife and family.
Well, yeah, Linda's been very supportive. She's really helped me through the tough times. There has been a few. In '85, I really felt like I could throw it in with her when I had a bad groin injury, but she kept pushing me back out on the track. And my kids, they have to put up with a lot, and they've been very supportive as well.
And what's the future now for Peter Carey? Short term?
Short term, we've got to make the 5. We've got a couple of hard games. We've got North at Prospect next week, which is an important game for us, and we're aiming at that final 5, and we've really got to get back on the road in the next couple of weeks.
And what about long term?
Long term, you mean the finals at the end of this year?
Even past that, Peter.
Well, we'd like to be part of the finals after that. I'm pretty sure this will be my last year, but I don't want to commit myself definitely, but I think it will definitely be the last year.
Well, Peter, congratulations once again. You've been magnificent for Glenelg and for South Australian football.
Thanks a lot, Kim.
Peter Carey, was he fighting back the tears? Who could blame him? Well, Darryl, what a champion. Is there anything you'd like to add to what's already been said about the man?
Only just how hard it is to coach against Peter Carey. To find a player, he will be synonymous with the success of Glenelg through the 70s and 80s. And as a coach, it's very difficult to find a player who can consistently beat him. because he's so bulky, and he tries a different tactic. You get on top one way, he'll come up with a different method.
As for the game itself, always a tough assignment for Torrens, and like South, they find it very difficult to win a game.
Yes, they do. I was impressed with Chris Lindsay's performance, their #1 ruckman, and it's another learning process for the West Torrens team, but once again, within 1 point, late into the quarter, and the last quarter, and so they're an improved side.
We saw quite a bit of that. What about, very briefly, the state players, McDermott?
Well, I think Chris McDermott, as the Premier captain, should be the captain of South Australia. I think that Bruce Lindsay should play back pocket. Scotty Salisbury, not in as good a form as last year, will miss out.
Okay, still to